What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word gun? The definition of a gun is a weapon incorporating a metal tube from which bullet shells or other missiles are propelled by explosive force, typically making a characteristic loud, sharp noise. Guns are a piece of equipment that people use in their life. It is very hard sometimes for people living in certain areas to live without a gun. For instance, there are people that live in the wilderness and in the woods, and it is very hard for them to know that they can survive with an animal attack without a weapon of some sort. Many American citizens would believe that just because they're American citizens, they have the right to debate or discuss this. However, I feel in order for you to have the right to discuss gun control and whether we should or should not have guns in America, you must not only be a citizen, but you must have at some point in your life had experience and learned about guns and how they work and the consequences and um, beliefs behind it, meaning consequences and responsibilities behind it. Guns are essential to the lifestyle of many American citizens, especially those of us who live in certain areas, such as either places where gangs could live, like big cities, or in the wilderness. Thomas Jefferson once said, "No free man shall ever be debarred to the use of arms." Our Second Amendment right also states that a well-governed militia shall be able to bear arms without that right being infringed. So I want to talk to you about two main points tonight. The first point is gun control can take away the way that people live and have lived for years. And the second point is without gun control, crime rates will go through the roof, and it has been proven in several case studies. To go back to gun control taking away the lives of its American citizens, this nation was founded by the founding fathers on the belief that we are to have certain inalienable rights. And in order for us to take anything from what they teach us is that those rights should not be infringed and should not be taken away from us. There are several people, as I stated before, that live in woods and places where wildlife is dangerous. In order for them to protect themselves, they must have a gun. And it's not just the wilderness. There are people that live in cities where gang violence is extremely large. And when you take away a gun, you take away the protection. I know a lot of people say, well, you could have a pocket taser or you could have a knife on you. Well, it doesn't matter. What happens when you get a gun pulled on you? The United Nations and our government has tried for years to take away this right from us. However, I have talked with several military members that are incorporated with my father, and they have all said the same thing. If the UN tries to take away our guns, they're going to have to bring in UN troops to do it because our military will not turn on their own people. Thomas Jefferson said again, "A strong body makes the mind strong. As to the species of exercise, I advise the gun. While this gives moderate exercise to the body, it gives boldness and enterprise and independence to the mind. Games played with ball and other of the nature are too violent for the body and stamp no character on the mind. Let your gun therefore be your constant companion of your walks." Basically, he's saying that when somebody owns and carries a gun, they have a responsibility and they know that, and so their mindset is focused on being the best that they can be. So now I want to switch topics and go over to crime rates in cities that do and don't have gun control. There was a case study done back in 2010, and they took the data starting in 1996 and put it back to 2010. And the case study says as followed, quote, "After the ban, clearly homicide rates bounced around over time. There is only 1 year, 2010, where the homicide rate is lower than it is in 1996. The immediate effect was about a 50% increase in homicide rates. The homicide rate only began falling when there was a large increase in the number of police officers during 2003-2004. Despite the huge increase of the number of police, the murder rate still remains slightly higher than the immediate pre-ban rate. what had happened was they had taken the numbers before a city banned guns and after a city had banned guns, and they found that when homeowners were allowed to have guns, the rates for murders and homicides were actually lower than they were. There are some cities where it has been that the crime rate actually is lower when there is no guns than when there is guns, but at the same point, more of the case studies point towards that there is lower homicide rate and crime rate when you have more guns in your place. Some people want to say that guns actually are the cause of the issue when really they're not. What happens is that criminals, no matter what they do, no matter who they are going to get guns because that's what they do and that's who they are, and they only want those guns to hurt people. I truly and honestly believe that there is good in citizens, and taking away a gun can be an issue because what's going to happen when you actually try to confiscate those guns from your citizens? Taking away a gun from an American is like taking away the privilege given to them by their founding fathers and for those whose blood paid the price for this nation. I myself do not own a gun yet, but I do plan to as soon as I get out of college, and I plan on teaching my children just the same way as my father taught me about the responsibilities. And I really do believe that we can make a difference by not taking away guns, because once you take away a gun, you are starting a conflict that you cannot finish or fix.